Well, yeah, I mean, and it seems like there's going to be one stacked upon the other, stacked upon the other. He's tied to the tracks. Whether or not the Republican base can get him off those tracks and untie him in time for the election remains to be seen. But I think that there's a couple things that are at play here. One of the through lines is that you have a scheme that would keep Donald Trump in power. And certainly one has to ask the question that with all these charges coming, I mean, a lot of this stuff can't be made up out of whole cloth. I mean, persecutions are one thing, but evidence is something else. And you've got testimony, you've got grand jury testimony, you've got the president's admissions himself that he called Brad Raffensperger, asking him to scrounge up some votes to help him over the finish line. You've got president's actions. It all adds up to a really bad look for anybody, much less somebody who a lot of people are very suspicious and has managed to get away with a lot of things that a lot of people would have succumbed to political gravity by now and dropped out. And it is a very curious factor that he has not slipped at all on the right. What you have to remember is that a lot of these so-called campfires or smoke or whatever you want to call it, it adds up, and it adds to the weight that he's carrying with him. It adds to his public perception outside of the Republican Party, and I don't think that that's going to be good news for anybody if and when Donald Trump makes it out of the Republican primary. So a lot of oncoming trains, as you mentioned. Whether or not he'll survive is an open question. Whether or not he'll actually get convicted, it's another matter as well. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens if and when you put a former president of the United States on trial.